Louis, you keep saying to me while we're playing these songs, Nigel, why aren't you crying?
That's what, I did say. So why aren't you crying? You look
don't need
bored
to. You
and
don't have
confused.
to cry. I was enjoying the music. You don't have to cry at every song, at every time you hear it. These aren't onion songs. These are songs that I think are beautiful and have touched me. Have touched me in the past.
False advertising. These are songs that make Nigel cry. Have made you cry. With the aid of 11% Innocent Gun.
With the small aid of a heroic amount of very tasty craft beer. What did you think of that song, Louis?
I thought it was Frank Sinatra.
Yeah,
is it Frank Sinatra?
Louis?
Hey,
look at me. You've only had these lessons. You've only been taking lessons from me a short time, and yes,
5 episodes in.
It's got a fairly distinctive voice, but I'll still give you that as you can have a star in your report card.
I'll take a gold star. It also reminds me of Jack the Knife, somewhere beyond the sea. But that's not Sinatra, is it? That's someone else. But another crooner.
That is. What's the name of that? Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me. Yes. No, that isn't Frank Sinatra, but this.
I do love that. Well, I love that song. Therefore, I kind of like this one because mostly because it reminds me of Jack the Knife. Is that allowed? Can I like a tune? Because it reminds me of the.
That last song wasn't called Jack the Knife. That was Somewhere Beyond the Sea.
Are those two
but there is a song
called Jack. Right. Okay. Well, all of these sort of crooner type. I thought you were going to berate me. I've got away with that. You're getting kinder in your old age.
No, I'm silently judging you, Louis.
Okay.
Always.
But you're perhaps slightly impressed that I'm remembering at least.
You know. You knew it was Frank Sinatra. That's something.
And am I right that all of these tunes are in the same sort of? I would call them. I don't know the right term, but they're sort of crooner music. Why you look so?
Yeah, you could call them a crooner. Yeah, it's fair enough. Dean Martin and.
I do like that sort of music. And have you ever seen that film, Life Less Ordinary? With Ewan McGregor,
many years ago, I think.
Cameron Diaz. Yeah. Anyway, there's a wonderful bit in it where they get pissed, and they go from sitting in some dive bar, getting drunk, and then all of a sudden, somewhere beyond the sea, that music, and Ewan McGregor's singing, and all of a sudden they're in like fantastic like white suits, and there's glittery backgrounds. It's like they're in Las Vegas or something, dancing on the tables, and I love that because. Have you ever I've had that experience where you're drinking in a dive bar and then all of a sudden you think you're in Vegas. You ever had that?
No, I'm always aware where I am, Louis. I've never suddenly thought I'm somewhere else.
Well, not literally, but like metaphorically. And
Bobby Darin sung Somewhere Beyond the Sea.
Bobby Darin. Who did Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy.
Oh, that was Bobby McFerrin.
Right, so it's the same first name. Right, this is where I'm...
Bobby, and then you're thinking, is it the Police? And then you're going to think about Sting. Is that kind of...
Basically, just a big game of word association. Which reminds me, Leonard Cohen. Earlier in the podcast, the guy, Hallelujah, he was singing that song, crying. Someone told me, watch that, learn to cry. Leonard Cohen, it can be strong to cry. It doesn't have to be a sign of weakness.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a revelation to me.
Did you watch it? Did you?
And Cohen. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. Is that coming up in this? That to me is a song that.
Actually, Louis, no, it isn't.
Hallelujah. I always thought the tunes would all be like that.
No.
But
Summer Wind, Frank Sinatra. What did you think it was about? What did you think about the instrumentation? Did that, like the way the strings added to the atmosphere of the song, and then you have the brass bits, and did that?
I was thinking, why would you cry to this? It's not a sad tune. And then I remembered, you don't actually have to be sad to cry.
No, not at all. Cry with happiness or with beauty is...
You can cry at happiness or beauty. And actually, if I think back in my life, when I've cried, because I was brought up in a stiff upper lip English family, get on with it. I was at a family do sort of get...
With Esther Ranson?
She was not there. No, she was
I
not
bet
there.
She was.
She was not.
I'm going to tweet Esther Ranson about this podcast. I'm going to mention that you're on it and say... I'm saying I'm helping Louis out. Would you like to donate? I can make a couple of bob. Anyway, you were at a party with Esther Ranson. Your relative, Esther Ranson.
As happens with a certain type of sort of Northwest London Jewish family, there's a lot of pressure to become a doctor, lawyer, or accountant to get good grades at school.
Oh God, you must. Yeah, sorry.
And one of the mothers was talking about how like. I think GCSEs or A-levels. One of the daughters was like laying in bed going, I'm not going in. I've failed this whatever, maths GCSE or whatever. The first exam went terrible. There's no point, and she's like, "Get out of bed, you're going." Stiff upper lip, right? So the kids, like, eventually, mum just drags her out. Since no hug, no there, no, get out. You're doing your exam, right? The only thing we know is that you will definitely fail it if you don't do your second exam.
Is there a problem? I don't see a problem here.
Well, it's not very sympathetic, is it?
Oh, you don't want to do the exams. You stay in bed then. Is that what you think you should do? Well, here's some cotton wool. I'm going to wrap you up in it.
Guess what grade?
Where's your daddy Louie? Let's go and get him. Me. Is that what you think it should be?
Well, I think we hothouse kids too much. I think kids have too much. I still have now, a lot of listeners are at home are going to understand this. That nightmare you have where you're back at school doing your exams. I still get those.
Really?
Do you still get those?
No. But then my exams went quite well.
Well, so do I. Well, that's the thing, right? This.
Actually, not all of them. There was one I did an English paper I did, and for the first time in my life, I just had a blank, and I just sat there for ages, and then at the last minute, I managed to write 2 pages and then do a little bit saying, if I had more time, I'd do this.
What grade did you get?
B for that one.
I mean, it's still pretty good, isn't it? Guess what grade the teenager got? My relative.
A.
A star.
There you go.
A star.
So her mum was right.
But
her mum was right. Get her out of bed.
I mean, okay, she got it, but how much pressure must you be on to think that you're going to fail and you're actually an A-star student? There's something going wrong there.
Oh, she's just a bit confused.
Too much pressure.
A confused teenager. Her mum was right to sort her out. Good grades. There we go. You've just given a success story about why you shouldn't moddy-cuddle people too much.
Well, to go back to like crying, the times that I've cried, so I brought up in that environment, right? You don't cry, you get on with it, yeah? Get up and... the only times I've cried is when like things are going really bad and I've told someone things are going really bad and they've gone to me, "Oh, no, oh, look, I'll help you out. Oh, that sounds terrible." And they've been sympathetic. That's what sets me off crying.
Really?
Yeah, it's not the hard times. The hard times I'm like, "No, I'll carry on."
Okay.
No. It's when someone shows some kindness when you're in those, that's what really sets me off.
You didn't cry when I offered to let you do this podcast with me.
How is this helping my life?
It's probably
done. Just dragging me down.
Probably done over the phone. You probably cried after the call.
Oh, because
Nigel's called me and
that would have been more just tears of sadness.
Yeah.
Oh God, I've got to have been dragged into this.
I'm surprised, and you said that was a happy song, but that song, the lyrics are actually "I lost you to the summer wind." See, that's a song about loss.
I wasn't listening to the lyrics.
Aha.
I was just getting to the vibe.
You're just into the vibe.
I often don't listen to the. I mean, I can see why you read me the lyrics in the last one because often I don't. Often I'm just sort of. I think I feel like I'm experiencing it.
But it was, I lost you the summer wind, but he's still a happy memory. I think there's no, it's love and lost. I think it's still it can be a positive thing. It's better to have loved and lost, so you have that happy memory.
Well, that is the age-old question. Is it better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all?
I think it is, isn't it? I think that's been solved years ago.
Oh, well, if it's unrequited love, though, I had a lot of teenage angst. Unrequited.
Well, that's not being loved. That's loving.
Oh right, I suppose so. Yeah. If you're not
loved
back, it doesn't count.
Have you had a lot of unrequited?
Could have done without some of the unrequited. Some of the girls I fancy at school not fancy me back.
What was your biggest unrequited love? Do you think? Can you think?
Well, I can, but I don't know. This isn't a therapy
I
session.
love it.
I
wish this was a video podcast because the look on your face was alarm. It was awkwardness. Come on, who was the big? You don't have to name them. You don't have to name Lucy Staines of 29.
I don't even understand the question.
Arthur.
What is your question? What's the question?
Tell me about your most unrequited love.
I was a teenager.
Not counting me.
Okay, right. Well, I was a teenager. I'm sure a lot of people can empathise with this story.
Sort of 19,
trying to normalise it. And you fancy someone at school, and they fancy you, and and that. And I remember one. Am I going to tell the story?
Yeah, come on. I'll tell the story after. Let's say it.
She went out with my younger brother.
Oh,
and that she'd been out with a few.
A really
of my
handsome
friends.
one. What's his name?
And then people say we look similar. And then that was the worst. I did have a little cry in the shower. And then that was the point at which I went,
that's brutal.
I'm getting over her, I'm moving on, and I did move on, yeah.
Did you ever cry and a wank in the shower? Because while you're there...
I may have washed my hair. I mean, it was probably the Head and Shoulders, just getting the anti-dandruff shampoo. It wasn't a real cry anyway.
No.
So yeah, I moved on. Anyway.
I remember this girl at school, and I think her friend liked me, but I really liked this girl. And for some reason, I thought it'd be a good idea to send her a message through a third party. Because I remember
My friend fancies you.
She asked me if I wore mascara, and I didn't know what that was.
Okay.
So that was awkward. And then I sent her a note. I can't remember what it was. It haven't been anything direct, like let's meet up or anything, but it might have been, oh, I like you. And then I got a report back from my friend who said, I said, oh, did she, what did she see? Would you give her the note? Yep. What did she say? She said, tell him to get lost. So I took that advice, and I have remained lost to this day.
Oh, kids are brutal, aren't they?
Yeah.
And one benefit of being a bit old, I wasn't going to mention our ages, but being a bit older and being settled is that you don't have so much of that turbulence. I've been talking over Christmas, you meet up with family and younger cousins and whatnot, and like, it's in a way, it's nice to be beyond all that. Yeah.
You're glad to be through that.
You know, those are tough times. There's tears there, and music helps.
And there you go. This is what it's all about.
But there was an important thing I wanted to say there, right? Which was, Nigel Thomas, you opened up a little bit there. You told a little personal story.
Well, the reason I'm doing the reason I chose this podcast was because your girlfriend said Nigel hasn't revealed anything.
Yes.
And you were in a state about the last podcast because you think you'd given too much away.
I did think I got drunk and said a few things I didn't intend to say. So you've opened up.
Bear in mind, this could all be lies, Louis. And I'm an actor. I'll just put that out there. Or
you fancied someone and they told you to get
lost. It could be true.
I'm pretty sure that's the truth.
That doesn't sound like...
That rings true.
I shouldn't have done that story because no one will believe that.
It's happened enough times.
No one will believe that. Let's listen to another piece of music, Louis.
Okay.
This is a beautiful mainly acoustic piece of music, and I think...
Now, acoustic music does make me sad. I always get annoyed when you're around the campfire and they bring out the acoustic guitar and they're always sad tunes. They're always like Tracy Chapman or something. And you're like, can you just...
Not all her stuff's sad.
Oh, it is.
But this is a very beautiful album by a wonderful artist, and I think...
Okay.
I don't know. This might touch you. I don't think you're going to like it. Let me say that.
Okay, you're reveling in that. Okay.
Yeah, but we'll see what you think.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yep.